At 9:07 a.m. on June 29, 1944, Staff Sergeant Lafayette Pool sat cramped inside the turret of his M4 Sherman tank near Villiers-Fossard, France, watching German infantry move through the hedgerows about 300 yards ahead. He was 24 years old with no combat experience and no tank kills. The 3rd Armored Division had landed on Omaha Beach 6 days earlier, and Pool's battalion was preparing to attack a heavily fortified German position defended by the 303rd Infantry Division. Every tank commander in the regiment understood the odds. The Shermans carried 75mm guns, while German Panthers had long-barreled 75mm guns with double the power. The Tigers were even deadlier, armed with 80mm guns that could pierce a Sherman's front armor from 2,000 yards. A Sherman's own gun couldn't penetrate a Panther's frontal plate at any range. Pool had named his tank In the Mood after the Glenn Miller song, something his crew thought was crazy. Corporal Wilbert Richards was the driver. Private First Class Bert Close handled the bowgun. Corporal Willis served as gunner, and Technician 5th Grade Del Boggs was the loader. The 5 men had trained together for 2 years at Fort Knox and in California's Desert Training Center, but none had yet faced a real enemy. At 0900 hours, the attack order came. Task Force X advanced on the left flank, Task Force Y on the right. Pool's Sherman rolled forward through a path cleared by bulldozer tanks. Almost instantly, German anti-tank guns opened fire, destroying 3 Shermans within the first 5 minutes. Pool spotted a German half-track about 400 yards away. Aller fired, hit the target, and the vehicle burst into flames. It was Pool's first kill. Soon after, they destroyed 3 more half-tracks, an armored car, and a supply truck. The thick hedgerows made visibility nearly impossible, and German infantry fired Panzerfaust rockets from just 30 yards away. Pool couldn't see the attackers until their rockets were already in flight. At 2:30 p.m., a Panzerfaust struck In the Mood's right track, throwing Pool hard against the turret wall and igniting a fire in the engine. As smoke filled the tank, Richards reversed about 20 yards before Pool ordered everyone to bail out. All 5 crew members survived, but the tank burned to the ground. Over the next 2 days, 31 Shermans in Combat Command A were destroyed. That night, Pool watched his first tank burn from a nearby French field. The regiment had lost 31 tanks and 12 other vehicles fighting for a single village against 1 reinforced German battalion. The Sherman's armor was too thin, its gun too weak. German tanks could kill from distances so far away that American crews couldn't even see where the shots came from. Every tanker in the 3rd Armored Division knew these facts. Most accepted them as the reality of war, but Pool refused to. The next morning, Pool requested a meeting with his battalion commander. The colonel expected a frightened sergeant asking for reassignment to the infantry. Instead, Pool demanded a new tank and said something that made the colonel question his sanity. He wanted to lead every attack and take the front position every single time. When asked why, Pool replied with 3 words: "Get in close." On July 1st, he received another Sherman, an M4A1 equipped with a new 76mm gun. It offered better armor penetration but still couldn't pierce a Panther's front plate beyond 500 yards. Pool named it In the Mood again, same name, new tank, same crew. They'd already survived 1 burning tank. Now they'd see if Pool's daring strategy would save them or doom them faster. Standard U.S. doctrine instructed tankers to keep their distance, fire from cover and use terrain for advantage, leaving enemy armor to tank destroyers. Pool ignored all of it. His method was brutally simple: charge straight at the enemy, close the distance to 300 yards, and fire first. His crew thought he was suicidal. Richards asked if he had a death wish, but Pool's reasoning was cold and logical. A Sherman died at 2,000 yards from a Panther. A Panther died at 300 yards from a Sherman. Close the distance, and you live. Stay far, and you die. It was suicidal on paper, but the book tactics were already killing American crews at long range. In early August, Combat Command A pushed east from Normandy toward Mortagne, with Pool's platoon always at the lead. On August 2nd, near Jouy-en-Vexin, Pool spotted 2 German Mark V tanks about 800 yards away. Doctrine said to halt and fire from cover. Instead, Pool ordered Richards to charge at full speed, 5 miles per hour, straight at the Panzers. The German crews hesitated, stunned that an American would attempt something so reckless. Those 3 seconds of confusion cost them their lives. At 400 yards, Aller fired. The first Mark V exploded. The second Panzer turned its turret toward them, but Aller reloaded and fired again. Penetration. 2 kills in 40 seconds. Pool's tactics worked because they defied German expectations. Panzer commanders were trained to fight Shermans from long range, where their superior guns ruled the battlefield. They assumed any charging Sherman was crippled or commanded by a fool. That hesitation, just 3 seconds, meant death at close range against a 76mm gun. By mid-August, the 3rd Armored Division was racing east through France toward the Falaise Pocket. Pool led every advance, destroying 4 more Panzers near Fromentel on August 13th, 2 Panthers, and 2 Mark Verses. His approach never changed. Spot the enemy, charge directly, fire at point-blank range. His crew no longer questioned him. They'd seen the results, 15 confirmed kills. Aller became the fastest gunner in the regiment. Boggs could reload a 76mm shell in 4 seconds. Close's bowgun shredded German infantry before they could fire their Panzerfausts, and Richards learned to drive straight toward enemy fire without hesitation. Instead of retreating, Pool drove straight into danger. His reputation spread rapidly through the 3rd Armored Division. Infantry units began requesting his support specifically for their assaults. Even his battalion commanders stopped trying to keep him in reserve. By September 1st, Pool had destroyed 8 confirmed Panzers and over 100 other enemy vehicles in just 63 days of relentless combat. Then, on August 17th near Fromentel, disaster struck. During a firefight, an American P-38 Lightning appeared overhead. The pilot mistook Pool's column for a German tank formation moving through the area. Pool's platoon was in the process of clearing out the last enemy positions when the fighter began its attack run. Pool spotted the aircraft diving and reached for his radio to signal that they were friendly, but it was too late. The P-38's 50-caliber machine guns tore through in the Mood's engine deck, followed by a volley of rockets. One rocket hit the turret, another struck the hull, and the tank erupted in flames. For the second time in 7 weeks, Pool and his crew bailed out of a burning Sherman. Again, all 5 survived. Richards cursed in anger, Close was trembling, Aller just stared silently at the wreck, and Boggs asked how many more times they'd have to endure this. Pool's calm reply was simple. As many as it takes. The battalion gave him a 3rd tank the next day, another M4A1 with a 76mm gun. Pool named it In the Mood once again. With combat command, advancing east after the Falaise Pocket's closure, the division pushed through France. Paris was liberated on August 25th, and by the 26th, the 3rd Armored had crossed the Seine River, driving northeast toward Belgium. Pool was always at the front. His get close, fire first, win approach had now become official battalion doctrine. From August 29th through the 31st, Pool's platoon spearheaded the division's advance through a sector defended by remnants of the German 2nd Panzer Division. His tank often moved far ahead of the main task force. When Richards asked if they should wait for support, Pool refused. At dawn on August 29th, they encountered 4 German Panzers near a crossroads. Pool ordered a charge, closing the distance from 800 to 600 to 400 yards. Aller fired. The 1st Panzer exploded. German return fire missed as Pool advanced to just 200 yards. The 2nd Panzer was destroyed, then the 3rd, then the 4th, all within 6 minutes. Over the following 3 days, Pool's platoon destroyed 3 anti-tank guns, around 50 armored vehicles, and countless enemy infantry. 27 German soldiers surrendered after witnessing their armor annihilated before their eyes. Pool was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for his actions. The citation praised his courage and leadership, crediting him with enabling his task force's rapid advance with minimal casualties. What it didn't mention was that Pool had broken nearly every tactical rule in the manual, and survived only because German tank commanders couldn't fathom such reckless aggression. By early September, Pool's record stood unmatched. 12 confirmed tank kills, including Panthers, Mark V's, and even a Tiger that exposed its side armor, along with 258 total vehicles destroyed. His crew had eliminated over 1,000 enemy soldiers and captured 250 prisoners in 81 consecutive days of combat. As the 3rd Armored Division approached the German border in mid-September, Pool's crew was finally scheduled to return home for a war bonds tour. They had survived 3 destroyed tanks and defeated every German Panzer they'd faced. Only 4 days of combat remained before their rotation. On September 19th, the battalion attacked the Siegfried Line near Münsterbusch, southeast of Aachen. For once, Pool wasn't leading. Higher command had assigned another unit the spearhead role. His platoon provided flank security. While scanning the battlefield, Pool spotted a German anti-tank gun hidden inside a house about 300 yards away. He ordered his gunner to load a high-explosive shell to destroy it before it could fire. But Aller wasn't there. He'd been sent home for medical evaluation before the crew's upcoming leave. The new loader, Private First Class Paul Kenneth King, was on his first combat mission. Nervous, King rammed a 76 meters round into the breech too hard and too fast, jamming the gun. Pool worked frantically to clear the jam, but the German crew fired first. The shell struck in the Mood's turret, throwing Pool against the commander's hatch, but failing to penetrate. Richards instantly shifted into reverse to back the tank away. They moved about 20 feet when the German gun fired again. The second round hit the Sherman's right side, flipping the 30-ton tank into a ditch. The explosion threw Pool from the hatch and onto the ground 12 feet below. He landed on his right leg, hard. It shattered instantly, snapping in 4 places. Pool looked down and saw his leg bent at an impossible angle, blood soaking through his trousers. A fragment had sliced deep into his thigh and calf. Inside the overturned tank, King was dead, killed instantly by the blast. Richards crawled out through the driver's hatch. Close squeezed out from the bow gunner's spot. Boggs emerged from the loader's hatch, drenched in King's blood. Pool pulled a morphine syringe from his kit and injected it into his thigh. The pain was excruciating. He could see exposed bone through the torn flesh, and the leg hung by strips of tissue. Reaching for his pocket knife, he tried to cut it off. Better to lose the limb than bleed out waiting for medics. Lieutenant Colonel Walter Richardson reached him in time, stopping him and administering another shot of morphine. The medics arrived just 30 seconds after Lieutenant Colonel Richardson's intervention. They administered a 3rd morphine injection and wrapped Pool's shattered leg in bandages soaked with sulfa powder. The bleeding slowed but didn't stop entirely. As they lifted him onto a stretcher, Pool cursed the Germans under his breath. Suddenly he twisted, grabbed Richardson's arm, and muttered through the haze of morphine, "Somebody take care of my tank." Richardson promised he would. Pool lost consciousness moments later. The war was over for Lafayette Pool. In 81 days of relentless combat, he had destroyed 12 confirmed Panzers, 258 total enemy vehicles, killed over 1,000 enemy soldiers, and captured 250 prisoners. He had survived 3 destroyed tanks, but the 3rd cost him his right leg. Surgeons amputated it 8 inches above the knee at a field hospital in Belgium. Pool then spent the next 22 months in rehabilitation, first at William Beaumont General Hospital in El Paso, Texas, and later at Lawson General Hospital in Georgia, where he was fitted with a wooden prosthetic leg. He was discharged from the Army in June 1946. Most men would have gone home, opened a small business, and lived quietly. Pool didn't. He longed to return to the life he knew best: the Army, the tanks, the fight. In 1947, he opened a filling station in Clinton, Texas, and later a repair garage. He married his sweetheart Evelyn, and together they raised 8 children, 4 sons and 4 daughters. Though his prosthetic leg ached constantly, he never complained. Running a gas station wasn't enough. He missed the camaraderie, the roar of engines, and the smell of diesel and oil. In 1948, Pool re-enlisted. The Army placed him in the Transportation Corps, where he worked in logistics and supply. It was safe, quiet work, but Pool hated it. He wanted tanks, not paperwork. When he requested a transfer back to the 3rd Armored Division, it was denied due to his disability. The Army recommended medical discharge, Poole refused to give up. He wrote directly to General Roderick Allen, former commander of the 2nd Armored Division, who remembered Poole's reputation as the fearless tank commander who charged Panthers head-on. Allen pulled strings, made calls, and got Poole reinstated with the 3rd Armored Division, this time as an instructor in automotive mechanics at Fort Knox, Kentucky. It wasn't combat, but it was still tanks. Poole became a legend at Fort Knox. Instructors pointed him out to new recruits. That's Staff Sergeant Poole, America's greatest tank ace. 12 Panzers, 258 vehicles, 81 days. Some trainees doubted the stories until Poole quietly lifted his pant leg and showed them the prosthetic. Then he'd tell them about Villiers-Fossard, about charging Panthers, about surviving 3 burning Shermans. After that, no one doubted him again. Poole retired from the U.S. Army on September 19, 1960, exactly 16 years to the day after losing his leg at Münsterbusch. He left with the rank of Chief Warrant Officer II after 29 years of service. He had given everything to the Army, and in return received a pension and a box of medals. The Distinguished Service Cross, Legion of Merit, Silver Star with Oak Leaf Cluster, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Belgian Fourragère, and the French Legion of Honor. After retirement, Poole attended business college and became a preacher at a small church in Keene, Texas, earning $25 a week. He also coached Little League Baseball, where the local kids adored him. He rarely spoke about the war unless someone asked directly. When they did, he always gave the same humble answer. There were no heroes. We were a team. Every medal I got wasn't mine. It was my crew's. He was nominated twice for the Medal of Honor. The first nomination was lost somewhere between France and Washington. The second was denied because the Army concluded it was a team effort rather than individual heroism. Poole agreed. He always credited Richards for driving into enemy fire, Aller for being the fastest gunner in the regiment, Boggs for reloading in 4 seconds, and Close for defending the tank from enemy infantry. Without them, Poole said, I'd just be another dead tanker in a French field. In 1988, Poole visited Fort Hood, Texas. A reporter asked him what advice he would give modern soldiers. His answer was direct and simple. Learn to survive. Shoot to kill. Always go forward. Never retreat. Lafayette Green Poole died peacefully in his sleep on May 30, 1991, in Keene, Texas. He was 71 years old, survived by his wife Evelyn, their 8 children, and dozens of grandchildren. He was buried with full military honors at Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery in San Antonio. His gravestone listed his rank Chief Warrant Officer II, but not his 12 Panzers, his 258 vehicles, or that he was the deadliest American tank commander in history. 2 years after his death, the U.S. Army dedicated a new tank driver training simulator hall at Fort Knox, in his honor, the Lafayette Pool Tank Crew Training Facility. Lieutenant Colonel Olin Brewster, who had served alongside Poole and remained his friend for 47 years, gave the dedication speech. He said Poole taught an entire generation of tankers that aggressive action beats superior firepower, that courage and speed matter more than armor, and that American crews could win if they fought smart and fought hard. Poole's tactics reshaped American armor doctrine for decades. His principle of aggressive close-range maneuver became standard training at Fort Knox. Get inside the enemy's engagement range and force them to fight where your gun is most effective. Modern tank commanders still study his engagements at Colombières and the August 29th battle, where he destroyed 4 Panzers in 6 minutes. The same principles apply even against modern tanks like the T-72 and T-90. In 2014, Columbia Pictures released Fury, a film about an American Sherman crew fighting through Germany in April 1945. Brad Pitt portrayed Staff Sergeant Don "War Daddy" Collier, a fearless, hard-charging tank commander who led from the front and fought at point-blank range. The movie never mentioned Lafayette Pool by name, but everyone who knew the real history recognized him instantly. War Daddy was Lafayette Pool in all but name, the man who proved that audacity, courage, and teamwork could overcome even the strongest armor. The nickname War Daddy was given to him by his crew. The bold, relentless tactics portrayed in the film were Pool's own tactics, and the leadership style was his. Even the famous line about getting home the fastest by smashing through the German army was something Lafayette Pool actually said. While Fury took creative liberties, such as the climactic battle where a single Sherman holds off an entire SS battalion, which never occurred, the heart of the story remained true. Pool had already proven that American tank crews could defeat superior German armor through aggression, speed, and flawless teamwork. He demonstrated that truth 81 times in 1944. Historians still debate whether Pool was truly America's greatest tank ace. Canadian tanker Sidney Radley Walters claimed more kills on the Western Front, while Soviet tankers like Dmitry Lavrinenko achieved higher counts in the East. German aces such as Michael Wittmann far surpassed Pool's total numbers. But these comparisons miss the essential point. Pool accomplished his record in just 81 days, less than 3 months, using a tank that was inferior to nearly every enemy vehicle it faced. That was what made him extraordinary. The M4 Sherman tank has long carried an unfair reputation. Historians have called it a death trap. Veterans nicknamed it the Ronson. Lighter because it burned every time, and German crews mockingly called it the Tommy Cooker. Yet the Sherman itself wasn't the problem, the doctrine was. American tactics in Normandy kept Shermans fighting at long range, where German guns dominated. Pool proved that by closing the distance and attacking at point-blank range, Shermans could win decisively. His 3 destroyed tanks told that story: Villiers-Fossard, Fromental, and Münsterbusch. 3 times burned, 3 times bailed out, twice without casualties, and the 3rd costing him his leg. Still, Pool always considered himself lucky. Lucky to survive, lucky that his crew made it out twice, and lucky that medics reached him in time at Münsterbusch. After the war, his crew went their separate ways. Corporal Wilbert "Baby" Richards, Pool's driver, returned to civilian life and gave interviews in the 1980s, recalling Pool's methods. He admitted he'd thought Pool was insane the first time he ordered a full-speed charge toward a Panther, but after surviving 20 engagements, he understood Pool wasn't reckless. He was calculated. He knew exactly how close they had to get. The precise distance where a Sherman's gun became lethal, and the Panther's advantage vanished. That understanding kept them alive. Private First Class Bert Close, the 17-year-old bow gunner nicknamed Schoolboy, later told historians that Pool never gave long speeches or motivational talks. His orders were always clear and concise. Enemy at 800 yards, full speed, fire at 300. That simplicity saved time and lives. There was no confusion, no hesitation, just precision and trust. Corporal Willis "Groundhog" Aller, the gunner, had been in the United States for a medical evaluation during the battle at Münsterbusch. When he learned of King's death and Pool's injury, he was consumed with guilt, believing that if he'd been there, the gun wouldn't have jammed and he could have fired first. Pool wrote to him in 1945, telling him to stop blaming himself, that the jam had nothing to do with skill, only the inexperience of a new loader under fire. King did his best, Pool wrote. He died doing his job. That's all any soldier can do. Technician 5th grade Del Jailbird Boggs, the loader, never spoke publicly about the war. His family later revealed that he had kept all of Pool's letters until his death. In one letter from 1970, Pool wrote about their 81 days together, how he had demanded perfection, pushed them harder than any crew in the division, and accepted nothing less. "But you delivered," he wrote. 4-second reloads, first-round hits at full speed, 0 panic under fire. I've served with hundreds of men, none better than my crew in the Mood. The name "In the Mood" appeared on 3 different Shermans. Tank 1 burned at Villiers-Fossard on June 29th, Tank 2 burned at Fromental on August 17th, and Tank 3 was destroyed at Münsterbusch on September 19th. Pool never changed the name, saying it reminded him why they fought. "We were in the mood for anything. In the mood to win. In the mood to survive. In the mood to prove American tankers could beat German armor. The 3rd Armored Division fought from Normandy to the Siegfried Line and across the Elbe River, destroying more than 1,000 German tanks and over 5,000 vehicles. Pool's 12 confirmed Panzer kills represented 1% of that total. His 258 vehicle kills represented 5%. 1 crew, 1 commander. 81 days. Modern U.S. tank crews still study Pool's tactics at Fort Benning and Fort Moore, analyzing his famous August 29th engagement, where he destroyed 4 Panzers in 6 minutes. The lessons remain timeless. Aggressive maneuver defeats superior firepower, speed breeds confusion, and closing distance removes the enemy's advantage. Pool grasped these truths in 1944. Without manuals, computers, or simulation models, he learned them by watching 31 Shermans burn at Villiers-Fossard and deciding there had to be a better way. Today, Pool's legacy endures. His uniform and medals were displayed at the Patton Museum at Fort Knox until 2016, when the collection was moved to the National Armor and Cavalry Museum at Fort Moore, Georgia. There, visitors can see his Distinguished Service Cross citation, his Silver Star, his Purple Heart, and the prosthetic leg he wore for 45 years. Photographs show In the Mood rolling through French villages, Pool standing tall in the commander's hatch, rarely buttoned up, despite the danger. Claustrophobic, he preferred the open air. Better visibility meant faster target acquisition, faster kills, and higher survival. The math proved him right. The museum also displays technical diagrams of the M4A1 Sherman, 30 tons, 12 feet tall, 20 feet long, a crew of 5, top speed 25 miles per hour. Its armor ranged from 25 mm to 76 mm thick, and its 70 mm gun could penetrate 100 mm of armor at 500 yards. On paper, the math said Shermans would lose. Pool proved the math wrong by changing the range. The archives of the 3rd Armored Division History Foundation preserve his combat reports, documenting each engagement from June 29 to September 19, 1944. Every kill verified, every action recorded. 12 confirmed Panzers, 258 vehicles in total. The records confirm that his achievements were real, not propaganda, not exaggeration, just the story of one tank commander who understood that aggression beats hesitation. If this story inspired you, share it. Every like, comment, and view helps keep Lafayette Pool's legacy alive. The man who destroyed 12 Panzers in 81 days using a tank everyone said couldn't win. He lost a leg proving them wrong, and because of you, his story will never be forgotten.